Everybody in integrative and even conventional medicine is talking about the gut, specifically the gut microbiome, which is the collection of the microbes as well as its DNA that live in the gastrointestinal tract. Now, this is for good reason, but I want to ask you today in this video, what about the gut with the liver? We've talked about gut brain. We've talked about the gut thyroid link. Recently, I started introducing this gut liver link, and now I want to dive deeper into specifically how a dysfunction in the gut liver link can cause liver health pathologies as well as other problems in your health that you might not be aware of because you're not even thinking about your liver. When in doubt, treat the gut is mostly true as long as you're remembering to also look at other causative factors and connections. And for many of them, I argue it's your liver. Here is why. First of all, the gut is connected to basically every other organ system because of this microbiome effect, right? There's this two-way communication between the microbiome and almost every organ system in the body that is now being validated by researchers. We have its impact on the nervous system, on the brain, on immune function, on detoxification, excretion, hormones, digestion, assimilation, and synthesis of nutrients. Now, just as importantly and often overlooked, there's this gut liver link. And the reason this is so important is because our liver has over 500 different functions, and it also interacts with virtually every organ in the body. This is our digestive tract, our hormonal tract, our cardiovascular system, our immune system, and our detoxification systems. Do you see the link? So if the liver isn't functioning properly, neither is the gut, neither is the brain, neither is our hormones. So it's not enough just to treat the gut. When there is a hormonal, mood, or digestive issue or any other symptom, you need to examine the liver. And you can't really examine the liver unless you look at the gut. So we need to look at both. We need to look at the liver and the gut link. And that's what we're going to do today in this video. I'm going to give you a quick summary of the liver-gut axis. And if you want more details, I did have a previous video that dived deep into this. And you can find that in the video description. There'll be links to previous videos as well as additional research in the article that accompanies this video that has references in it for you if you want to totally geek out on the topic of liver-gut connection. I also am going to discuss, besides the liver-gut axis, microbial imbalances and the liver-gut dysfunction, specifically how those two are interlinked, how liver diseases are related to an unhealthy gut-liver axis. In other words, what disease pathologies have specifically been cited in the literature to be related to this gut-liver dysfunction, conventional and functional medicine tests for assessing the gut-liver health. And then to end on a cheery note, we're going to look at certain things that we can do to support our liver gut health and even in some studies reverse some of the damage done to our liver by various lifestyle factors or environmental factors or genetics or just all of the combinations coming together in a negative way to optimize our liver/gut health, but also our overall health. So remember, when we're talking about all of this, think of how this information can help you get better brain, better hormone, and better mind-body balance. That's empowering. So let's get started. Let's just review a little bit about the liver-gut link. So there's this portal vein. It's a big blood vessel that carries blood from the gut, the gastrointestinal tract, the gallbladder, the pancreas, and the spleen. All that blood is going to the liver. And that's what serves as the bidirectional connecting link between the gut and the liver. There's also this feedback loop that occurs between the gut and the liver. That's called the enterohepatic circulation. Entero means the gastrointestinal tract. Hepatic is a word for liver in medical terminology, and it determines the amount of bile acids produced, and that's necessary for detoxification and digestion of fats. That's one of the things this enterohepatic circulation does, is this cycle of detoxification, digestion of fats, going from the gut to the liver, even biomodulation of hormones and estrogen. Now, the gastrointestinal tract has different cellular layers, and these have to be intact to optimize this two-way communication, because the gut lining forms this permeable barrier, and it's responsible for filtering different compounds that enter into this portal circulation. And then because the liver actually has blood going through all of our bloodstream, that's going to affect the whole system. Now, the gut vascular barrier, which is the third and final barrier of protection in this gut lining, is the actual interface between the gut and the liver, and that is what modifies what is actually being filtered and what is allowed into this portal vein. So breakdown in that last layer of the gastrointestinal tract lining obviously can cause a lot of problems. So here's how that might happen. So there's this gut-liver link, and these gut microbiota obviously are involved in a lot of processes that it's going to affect the liver, right? They're going to allow metabolites, they're going to be processing different metabolites, and then they're going to be filtered out through this gastrointestinal permeable barrier here. So things like genetics, diet, alcohol, lifestyle, medications, all will determine the population of the microbiota in someone's gut at a particular time. And this can positively or negatively, depending on what a person is doing, alter the composition in a favorable or unfavorable way. So if there's too many negative triggers, what happens is an overgrowth of pathogens can occur. And this can cause what they call a dysbiosis. And it's just really an imbalance in microbes. It can be favorable or unfavorable. Most of the times it's kind of a negative connotation to it. And this kind of dysbiosis can fuel an unwanted series of events and result in a compromised liver gut axis and result in immune dysfunction. Here's the kind of the way that happens. What happens is these microbes are imbalanced, there's pathogens, the intestinal barrier breaks down, this causes inflammation, it causes bacterial distribution throughout the body and modified metabolites to go to the liver through the gut-liver axis. That can cause a lot of issues. The dysbiosis itself, these different pathogens can also lead to insulin and blood sugar alterations, which also negatively impacts the gut, the liver, and other organ systems. Now, there is actual recent evidence emerging that certain bacteria are associated with various types of liver diseases, specifically an increase in lactobacillus and S. cereus, if I said that correctly, and also a decrease in coprococcus. So these are the specific ones related to non-alcohol fatty liver disease. The rest of the literature is still validating some other associations with other liver diseases. So we have this gut-liver axis. We have this microbial population in our gut that when it can cause when first different things can cause it to become imbalanced, and this prevents this this causes this gut liver dysfunction. Now, what is specifically linked in terms of liver diseases to this gut liver dysfunction? And there are a lot of different liver diseases that are linked. Metabolic dysfunction associated fatty liver disease, which is also known as non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, has been linked to gut liver dysregulation. Non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. I'm going to be tongue twisted throughout this, but we'll get there. That's also known as NASH. Primarily sclerosing cholangitis, which is a gallbladder disorder, liver cirrhosis, scarring of the liver, metabolic syndrome, weight changes, and autoimmune hepatitis, which is an autoimmune disease of the liver. How do you know if this is happening besides different liver symptoms? Well, labs and imaging can help your doctor differentiate these. Now, if we're looking conventionally, they're going to run blood tests such as a complete blood count. This will assess inflammation and immune status, right, by looking at the white blood cells in different populations and the different ratios. Liver enzymes and function tests can say if there's inflammation in the liver. Tests for chronic viral hepatitis that can potentially be a cause for the liver issues. They might do celiac disease screening tests because celiac disease is linked to a dysbiosis in the gut, and it is an autoimmune dysfunction actually in the intestine. So there's oftentimes this intestinal barrier breakdown, even if someone is on a gluten-free diet, which is a trigger for this celiac disease. Fasting glucose, insulin, and hemoglobin A1C, because of blood sugar and the dysbiosis link, as well as a lipid profile. These can all be run. The doctor might also choose to do an ultrasound, a CT, or an MRI of the liver. Functional medicine practitioners may choose to do a comprehensive stool test because this will assess dysbiosis and analyze digestive health and intestinal burial or integrity. They might even do a small intestinal bacterial overgrowth test because this is a dysbiosis in the upper tract of the GI that can lead to leaky gut and gut liver dysfunction. And it's actually been correlated to NAFLD, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So let's say we get some tests back. Let's say that there is this gut liver barrier dysfunction going on and someone has some overt liver pathologies, or they're heading that direction. What can we do in a naturopathic and functional medicine manner to kind of help support the liver and nurse it back to health per se? There's different dietary patterns, lifestyle, probiotics, and other supplements that can be used to promote gut liver health. Talked about it in the last video a little bit, specifically modulating the liver hormonal link. And some of these things for a healthy liver lifestyle were decreasing toxic exposures. That would be whether in your food or in the personal care products you use or the products that you use to clean your home with. Different movement, any movement or exercise that you enjoy, being mindful of liver harming medications. Perhaps the most advertised or most familiar would be Tylenol. Coffee has been shown to support the liver for people who can tolerate caffeine. Sleep, stress reduction, eating nutrient-dense, plant-powered, and gut-loving fermented foods. So gut-loving fermented foods are things such as yogurt, kimchi, sauerkraut. Specific nutrients and herbs can support the liver, like milk thistle. This is the most evidence-based. And then essential oils can act as antioxidants to protect the liver from cellular stress and inflammation. These are mostly preclinical trials. Now, what if someone's missed kind of this preventative liver-loving stage hormonal balance? What can one do? Well, of course, personalizing the diet is always best for a specific issue and optimizing what nutrients that organ system needs or that person needs to feel better. That being said, the most researched dietary pattern for improving liver health, especially in those with NALD and NASH, non-alcoholic liver disease, and NASH, is the Mediterranean diet. Now, the Mediterranean diet consists of a diet rich in olive oil, vegetables, fruits, nuts, legumes, and whole grains, fish, seafood, and then less of sugar and red and processed meat. Now, these are things that you can add into your diet that can be supportive for liver health. Clinical trials, as far as lifestyle and movement and food education, have shown that caloric restriction, weight reduction, about 5 to 10%, and exercise have improved liver markers and health in those with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Now I'm going to get a little bit on my soapbox here because I hate even reporting this. Hate may be a strong word. Okay, I hesitate to report this because one does not know if the result of this improvement was related to the healthy lifestyle interventions that led to the weight loss and caloric restriction, or if it was actually related to that itself. Like it didn't matter what the people ate as long as they cut their calories and lost weight. And I think more people are actually leaning towards the first option, where what we eat and the quality of that food is actually going to probably support our health and longevity in the longer term than just cutting down calories and eating sub-quality foods and not caring about anything else about lifestyle. But this association exists nonetheless, and it will be touted by experts in the field to promote weight loss. So I thought you should be aware of it. Here's where I get more on my soapbox. Like I'm standing on my soapbox screaming a little bit here, but not really screaming at you, but maybe to the world, that if you do embark on losing weight for liver health, I do feel it's crucial to be mindful of the potential eating disordered behavior that can emerge when one rigidly adheres to a dietary pattern. So eating disorders are the deadliest mental health disorder there is. So achieving a healthy liver at the same time you're going into mental anguish and potentially heading towards one's death with severe starvation not a good trade-off, right? And even if one does maintain weight loss, it should be known that statistic-wise, I mean, a vast majority of people actually gain the weight back. And this weight cycling is actually more negative than people who would have stayed at the same weight and adopted healthier behaviors. There's also weight stigma. Now, interestingly enough, the stress of someone being stigmatized and being kind of deemed at a lower socioeconomic or status because of how they look on the outside actually causes physical and mental dysregulation in the body. That they had done various studies that cortisol rates just from a larger size body person going into a doctor can rise because they're worried about, and their inflammatory response because they're worried about being stigmatized against. So this is important to keep in mind as well. So when we're approaching dietary and exercise interventions from a health standpoint, that is actually preferred versus a weight-centric one. And this is why, based on ethics, where I can't guarantee weight loss if I look at statistics ethically, and diet and healthcare culture that I feel are fueling eating disorders, I don't recommend a diet or promote weight loss. But I do think that it's important to know that certain foods actually are healthy for the liver or gut, and those can be incorporated into the diet, and maybe what some other foods can potentially have an effect on your health if they're eaten in the long term. Okay. So there you go. Mediterranean diet and this correlation between caloric restriction, rate reduction, as well as movement has been helpful for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Probiotics actually have a lot of research, not a lot, but enough, where there's this link between how our microbiome population in our gut influences the barrier, dysbiosis, inflammation, and immune tolerance, and the gut-liver axis. So it makes sense, right? If we give something that helps rebalance and repopulate that there's going to be beneficial effects of the liver. And they have found that in various meta-analyses and studies, and actually looking at liver parameters and liver inflammation, liver health, and actually one study with a high potency multi-strand probiotic known as VSL3 actually showed improved lipid parameters, liver function test, and resolved hepatic steatosis, which is fatty liver, in a trial of subjects with NAFLD. So that is pretty cool. Now, other supplements that have been studied to promote improvements in non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and NASH are vitamin D and E, carnitine, polyunsaturated fatty acids, so think of fish oil, milk thistle, resveratrol, and anthocyanins, which are antioxidants found in a lot of plant foods, betaine. And of all of these agents, vitamin E actually has the most evidence. That being said, it's important to talk with your doctor because excessive dosing and there's also can be harmful, and there's also nutrient interactions. So you should be aware of those. So self-prescribing some of these, at high doses isn't encouraged. So here's a summary. We want to promote both intestinal and liver health because it can affect many health outcomes and wellness parameters. Due to various lifestyle factors, environment, exposures, genetics, and other triggers, it can cause alterations in the gut flora, leading to dysbiosis, and increased intestinal permeability can ensue. This can lead to inflammatory changes in the liver and through the gut-liver connection, resulting in systemic as well as various liver diseases. But the good news is there are some liver-loving interventions we can incorporate if we're also maybe getting conventional care, or these things in and of themselves have been studied to nourish the liver, things such as nutrient-rich liver foods, specific dietary patterns with specific foods like the Mediterranean diet, probiotics, and nutraceuticals can help support the integrity of the gut-liver axis and improve liver health. So naturopathic and functional medicine modalities can help clients or you or people in general to improve their gut-liver axis and overall health. So I hope this information was helpful and you take some of these suggestions to your doctor, or maybe some of the nourishing foods that you can already incorporate, or some of the lifestyle practices that are low risk, high benefit you can start implementing now to improve the gut-liver link and to improve your overall health. If you have any questions, I am here. Feel free to comment in the video description or on the article on my page. I will answer them. I'd also invite you to look at my free resources. There'll be a link in the video description, as well as to visit my website, which has a lot of articles and information there for you. I also offer consumer classes on the clinical use of essential oil, as well as for practitioners with continuing education units also applied. So be sure to check those out too. And in the meantime, I thank you for your attention, and I thank you for your interest in the liver gut axis. I'll talk to you soon. Have a wonderful rest of your day or evening.